traditional meditation, we work very hard to clear the mind, to get things out of the mind, so that there is no mind left. But that is a little bit unnatural, because that's not the state of the mind. And so I would almost like to, well, the first thing I want to do is talk about a hero of mine. His name was Lester Levinson. Lester lived in New York City in the 50s. He was 42 years old. I see a knowing nod. Somebody knows about Lester. Wonderful. And Lester, in 1952, was diagnosed in New York City with the following ailments. Imagine this was you. Depression, enlarged liver, kidney stones, spleen trouble, hyperacidity, ulcers that had perforated his stomach and formed lesions, and he was on his second coronary. All that at once. 1950 was a little bit different time, 1952 than today, and they didn't necessarily have bedside manner. So the doctor told Lester to go home and prepare to die. He had 3 months. That was it. Now, he was professionally at the pinnacle of his life. He was a physicist, a very successful entrepreneur. This man owned blocks of real estate in and around New York City. But he was going to die. And so he went to a psychiatrist who was one of the last living associates of Sigmund Freud. And they again could say things that they would not say today. And they said, there's nothing we can do for you. Just go home, get ready to die. So Lester went home and got really mad. Like boiling angry mad. And he was mad at his doctor, and he was mad at his psychiatrist, because he figured nobody gave a shit about him. And he was probably right. Probably right. But Lester was also brilliant. And somehow, without any training in meditation, without anything else going on, he figured out that when he got angry, the people that got hurt were not the folks he was angry at. It was who?
Himself.
Exactly. And so, Lester simply decided in that moment to figure out how to get rid of his anger. In the process, he actually constructed every conceivable human emotion. So there were subsets of the following. Apathy. Now, does anybody here have apathy? Apparently, yeah, okay. Hector, I know Hector. Yes, Hector does have apathy. And apathy is, if I were to ask anybody right now to go to the center of feeling, which is around the belly button, is there anybody here coming up blank? They just don't seem to be feeling anything one way or the other. Anybody? By a show of hands? Okay, I see a few. Yeah, lovely, wonderful. I was one of those, yes. When you don't feel anything, that is technically apathy. You're not at the most bizarre type of apathy. If apathy were heightened and heightened and heightened, it eventually would be, what's the point? Nothing matters anyway. Okay, we're not there. But the mind will actually always be feeling some form of emotion, and when it does not, it just seems like a blank sheet of paper. Just whiteness, just nothing. And that is apathy. It's one of the lower emotions, and the emotions change all the time. You can go from the lowest emotion of apathy all the way up to the greatest emotion, which is peace, and you can go in a matter of seconds. So the mind and the emotions are actually an illusion. And if we can learn to let go of those emotions, you will be amazed at how happy you guys are going to get. So you just let go of emotions. So the lowest was apathy. The next is grief. And by the way, there's all these subsets. There's all these subsets underneath each of these. Then comes fear. Then comes lust. Then comes anger. And finally, pride. Those are all the lower emotions. So on the top down, pride, anger, lust, fear, grief, and the lowest is apathy. But then there's higher emotions. Courage, acceptance, and peace. And those are the ones that give you the best feeling. So, in this moment, right now, Is there anybody that would like to deal with any kind of emotional issue that is bothering you? That we won't get super personal, but just an emotion that's coming up. Does anybody have one? Okay, yes.
Boredom.
Boredom. Thank you. Okay. Fair enough. So, in this moment.
Not here.
No.
That's my first I feel like I'm blushing in my life.
You're just not interested in things. That is happening. Okay. And realize that you are not alone. You're not a special snowflake. We all have this to some extent. We all have all of these things at different times. So in this moment, right now, I'd like to ask people to just briefly close their eyes and see if you can get in touch with just boredom and apathy and welcome it. Now, why would you welcome it? It's okay, because it means you're alive. If you weren't living and breathing, that wouldn't be there. So based on that it serves you in some fashion, could you welcome the apathy? And now, in your mind, I'm going to ask you to give the apathy a color. It can be any color you choose. And now try and give it a shape. Any shape at all. And now, in this moment, not forever, but just for now, I'd like you to imagine that shape beginning to dissolve just a little, maybe 1% of it. And see it as it starts to roll down the body as you relax. And it sort of goes down the arms, the legs, spiraling around the body, and eventually into the feet and onto the floor. And now ask yourself if you can tell a little more lightness than when we started, just a little. And as that lightness comes about, begin to feel more and more of that feeling start to dissipate. By a show of hands, does anybody feel just a little lighter? Just a little. A few of you. And the rest of you that are not, can we accept that that is still there or not there? Perhaps it's another emotion, and welcome even that. And now, begin to let that get softer. And imagine a straw coming out of your forehead. And imagine that starting to dissipate the emotion as it begins to take a liquid form and just fade away. And who here can feel a little lighter now? If you feel a little lighter, raise your hand. Here we go. We all have different ways of feeling that lightness.